We are about to start off with the event in a very short while from now. I hope all of you have done your registrations for the next 3 days. And also, like we always say every year, please keep your belongings safely with yourself, because we do take responsibility for your security, but then when it comes to your personal belongings, you will have to take care of them yourselves. We have 3 days of very interesting events which are happening, so we request all of you to be here. And of course, today evening we have a wonderful attraction, which is the Harsha Bhogle program. So please be here, because there are some lucky prizes to be won in the process. So don't forget to be in your seats when you are going to actually become a lucky winner. And if you have any questions, you have to connect with us on LinkedIn and post your questions there. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome to the 24th edition of INFOCOM Calcutta 2025. This year we come together under a theme that captures the urgency and excitement of our times: technology, future forward. A future where AI becomes a co-pilot, where digital becomes the default mode of value creation, where leaders reinvent not just processes, but mindsets and culture, and where the boldest ideas will shape the next decade of India's technology narrative. Over the next 3 days, you will hear from global innovators, Fortune 500 executives, CIOs, founders, strategists, and policy voices, all sharing insights that will help us reimagine the world of tomorrow. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here and for being part of a community that believes in thinking boldly and building responsibly. To officially open INFOCOM Calcutta 2025, may I now invite on stage Mr. Dhruba Mukherjee, CEO, ABB Group, for the welcome address. Sir, a very good morning to you. And a round of applause as I welcome Mr. Dhruba Mukherjee on stage.
Thanks. Yeah, hi. Right, thank you, Tinut, and very good morning to all of you. On behalf of the ABP Group, it is my proud privilege to welcome you all to INFOCOM 2025. For the past 24 years, every year we assemble the brightest minds in this platform to decode the present and to imagine the future. This year, it's not going to be any different. It's going to be the same. For the past 24 years, we have technology as the core of this conference. This year, it's very different. Because this year, it is no longer the core of the conference, it is the theme of the conference. The INFOCOM team has decided to have technology up and center for this conference, and the theme for this year's conference is Technology, Future Forward. Many of you are aware that the INFOCOM team decides on the theme almost 7-8 months before the date of the conference. Many of you would have received an invitation from the team stating the theme. Some of you would have received proposal for partnership stating the theme. And for the past 7-8 months, we were looking for validation and vindication whether this was the right theme appropriate for the times that we live in. And that validation or vindication came in October 2025. In October 2025, if you, like Donald Trump, was eagerly following the announcement of Nobel Prize winners, then you would have known that the Nobel Prize for Economics went to three gentlemen, Joel Mokyr, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt. The summary of their work, if I have to summarize their work rather, I would say that their research was how technology triggers new products and new production methods, which replaces the older ones, and which in turn leads to a better standard of living. Of course, I simplified. They talked about a lot of things on innovation, creative destruction. But the sum and substance of what the work was probably is captured in the theme, which is to say, their work was about how technology future forwards the society in a positive, reinforcing way. And that is when the team found validation for this year's INFOCOM. Ladies and gentlemen, cloud, data, cybersecurity, quantum computing, immersive realities, each of these today is evolving from a capability to a competitive advantage. And very soon, they will transform the way we learn, the way we work, the way we govern, and eventually the way we live. Today, as we speak, AI is helping us write our emails, cars are driving by themselves, and our phones are probably listening to us more carefully than our families. But the future is not about smarter and more intelligent machines. The future is about a smarter and a more intelligent society. And the challenge for all of us is how do we build that future where technology will amplify human potential, a future where technology will bridge the gap rather than widen it, a future where technology will trigger innovation which will be rooted in inclusivity and trust. This year's INFOCOM will try and address these challenges and a few more. And I urge you all to question, challenge, and collaborate over the next 3 days to find the best way forward. Enjoy the INFOCOM. Let's future forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee, for setting the perfect tone for the days ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, our first keynote of the day comes from a global visionary, a futurist, and a leader who sits at the intersection of deep tech, venture capital, and global innovation ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Stephen Ibaraki, Chairman and Managing General Partner, Reds Capital, speaking on navigating the S10 shift era. Sir, over to you.
So it's such a pleasure to be here. I want to welcome everyone. Now keep in mind, I see, if I can have my deck up, so I see really India as the catalyst for my talk, which is the 10 converging technologies that will accelerate abundance globally. So I'm going to talk about the future of everything in the S10 shift era and a strategic roadmap on innovation and investments. Now, on my last slide, I've got a QR code to my deck and 12 exploratory reports, about 500 pages. So we're going to talk about these 10 converging technologies. We'll get a bit into a spotlight on quantum. I'll surface an IEEE study on trends, and then we'll look at healthcare and this convergence that's happening. I'll outline some of the top resources in the world. We'll do a quick fireside with Bob Langer and Elias Khan, and then I'll wrap up. So I produced a video to illustrate these 10 converging technologies. Enjoy.
Welcome to the S10 shift. Around the world, an unprecedented transformation is quietly taking hold. 10 powerful technologies converging to reshape our future. In this primer, we'll glimpse how this shift is already unfolding in real life through global innovations. Each is a spark of the coming change, revealing not just new gadgets or apps, but how our societies might be uplifted in the next decade. High-performance computing and next-gen chips. Supercomputers are exascale, shattering the billion operations per second barrier, and now zetascale in the cloud at trillion, billion, able to sort through 100 billion molecule drug candidates in minutes, impossible before. And teaming up with AI and quantum processors for 1,000 times leaps on unsolvable problems. By 2030, expect 1 million times beyond exascale, driving hyper-acceleration across all industries and spawning new markets powered by limitless computational might. Advanced networking, 6G and satellites. Connectivity is about to feel instantaneous. 6G is native AI at every layer, and its wireless aims for 100 times faster speeds with near zero latency, while thousands of new satellites blanket the globe in broadband. By 2030, terabit per second links and seamless global coverage could make lag and dead zones obsolete, unlocking always-on AR/VR, connecting billions more people, autonomous robots and drones, and supercharging the digital economy everywhere. Quantum technologies, adding 2 trillion by 2035. Quantum computing is achieving moonshot speed-ups today. A 70-qubit machine crushed a top supercomputer by 13,000 times on a real task. With logical qubit counts surging with errors tamed. And by 2030, quantum coprocessors will routinely crack formerly impossible problems, from drug design to logistics to genes and aging, at 1,000 times plus speeds, birthing whole new industries and magnifying computing's impact 5 times over. Advanced materials. Breakthrough materials are turbocharging innovation, programmable matter and novel matter by design using Microsoft's MatterGen. Perovskite solar cells boosted panel efficiency to 20% overnight, and new solid-state batteries will double electric vehicle range. By 2030, these 5 times performance jumps and others from graphene electronics to super-strong composites will unlock ultra-cheap clean energy, 1,000-kilometer EVs, and other market-disrupting products that tackle global challenges head-on. Artificial intelligence and superintelligence. AI is in hyper-growth mode. AI agents already making science breakthroughs. Fully autonomous AI scientists by 2028. Fully thinking humanoid robots. Autonomous AI agent models tripling productivity while open source breakthroughs put top-tier AI in everyone's hands. And world models creating photorealistic, moving, immersive environments. Research lab where AI systems are making scientific discoveries. Multiple screens show AI analyzing molecular structures, generating hypotheses, and running experiments. Scientists observe as AI agents work autonomously. At this rate, by 2030, AI will exceed human-level versatility and beyond, unleashing a 10 times amplification of human potential and spawning new trillion-dollar industries driven by smart, tireless digital workers. Robotics and autonomous systems. Robots are entering daily life en masse. Generalizing, automatic problem-solving humanoid bots now walk warehouse floors and our homes. Driverless cars and delivery drones zip around cities non-stop. By 2030, this autonomous army of machines could cut costs and accidents by 5 times, turning logistics and transportation into ultra-efficient on-demand services and igniting a $135 billion robots-as-a-service economy that augments human labor everywhere. Biotech and bioeconomy. Biotechnology is curing the incurable and creating a booming bioeconomy. CRISPR gene editing, delivering one-shot cures for genetic diseases, and mRNA vaccines are beating cancers. Paradigm shifts, turning fatal illnesses into treatable blips. By 2030, aging solved, dozens of diseases cured at the DNA level, and advanced cell therapies will make many cancers manageable. A 5 times leap in medical impact that extends healthy lifespans and fuels an $18 trillion health tech market. Brain-computer interfaces. Merging mind and machine is no longer sci-fi. Patients with paralysis are now speaking, texting, controlling devices through thought alone via AI-powered brain implants. With BCI performance doubling every year by the 2030s, we will see mind-controlled and mind-to-mind devices go mainstream, a transformative 5 times boost in quality of life for millions, and the rise of new industries for cognitive enhancement and hands-free computing. Energy transition and storage. Clean energy's last hurdle is falling fast. Grid battery installations have exploded, making floating gigawatt 24/7 solar arrays and wind power a reality, and scaling 20 times in just a few years. Innovative energy storage facility featuring CO2-based gas batteries and gravity storage systems. This extending to data centers in space as engineers monitor storage technology's performance. With costs plummeting and new 24-hour storage tech from CO2-based gas batteries to gravity storage coming online, we're on track for fully renewable, always available power by 2030. A moonshot achievement that slashes emissions at 5 times scale, electrifies transportation and industry, and powers a green economy around the clock. In the keynote, we will explore the S10 shift, Age of Abundance together.
So there we go, the S10 shift, the synergistic 10 technologies accelerating all industries and all accelerated and integrated with artificial intelligence and increasingly quantum. In this shift is the synergistic 10 acting like a flywheel, producing hyperacceleration of greater than 2 times, impact magnification greater than 5 times, creating frontier trajectories of new markets, moonshot products and services. But you have to address the transformative challenges, the geopolitical, economic, social, safety, ethical, privacy, risk, governance, and accountability, responsibility, and transparency. And the 10 technologies are high-performance computing or supercomputing, chips, networking, quantum advanced materials, AI, machine learning, robotics, automation, and drones, biomedical innovation, neurotechnology, energy and storage, and advanced manufacturing in space. So how about some signals? Right now in quantum, we're at the noisy intermediate scale quantum computing, and if we can deal with the errors through error correction, we can produce fault tolerance and then get utility scale where it's faster and better, and then advantage where it's actually doing things that classical cannot. So is there some evidence? Absolutely. So DARPA has a program called US2QC. Microsoft and PsiQuantum are already in the final utility scale validation stage after a year of due diligence by the top national laboratories, top academic institutions, and NASA. They have another program called QBI. It's newer, and just about 10 days ago, a number of quantum computers got passed from stage A to stage B, like Quantinuum, IonQ, IBM, Xanadu, and a few others. And then when we reach to stage C, that's then the validation for utility, fault tolerance, and quantum advantage. Now, if you recall, back in 2019, Google declared quantum supremacy with their Sycamore quantum computer. However, they chose an esoteric test. It was difficult to verify. Well, that's changed in December of last year when Google announced their Willow quantum computer system. And that's because they proved that they can apply error correction in a sufficient quantity to stay ahead of the errors, producing something called logical qubits, and thereby getting utility scale and quantum advantage in the 3 to 5 year term. Now, in October of this year, Google, in a paper in Nature, produced the first verifiable quantum advantage that is reproducible on a practical application, nuclear magnetic resonance chemistry, which can be applied to drug discovery and things like new material science. And then, just a few days ago, from the Department of Energy funded program out of Princeton, with some funding from Google, a team announced a new kind of superconducting material. They put it into a chip, tantalum on silicon, and if they put that and replace the Willow chip with this material, they would get 1,000 times speed up because it's actually more stable. Now it scales. If they produce 1,000 of these qubits, they can get 1 billion times speed up. Another signal, I've been sitting on this for over a month, a big announcement to a quantum computing company called Alice and Bob and NVIDIA. Now I can release it. at this conference here. And the reason is they've got a number of milestones. In fact, I've interviewed the CEO and co-founders, so I recommend you have a look. But they've got a new kind of qubit for their quantum computer that's 200 times more fault tolerant without even applying error correction. So you could apply error correction. And then in a joint announcement with NVIDIA, they announced an open architecture called NVQ Link, combining that with something called Q2Q, where Alice and Bob can get a 75 times increase in capability. There's a third announcement that occurred in October. The Nobel Prize in Physics was announced for 3 scientists, Deveray, Martinez, and Clark, but it was for their work on superconducting qubits. And Deveray is actually the co-founder or inventor of cat qubits. And until recently, he was actually the official advisor to Alice and Bob. What's happened is he's now left so that he can take on the role as chief hardware quantum scientist at Google, but Martinez has taken his place. And Alice and Bob is gearing to have fault-tolerant advantage and also utility scale within a few years. Okay, now let's step back and build a bit of context. Back in 2015, I was invited by the top 100 CEOs, at that time representing $100 trillion almost in assets under management. Roughly twice the GDP of the world. And they asked me, Stephen, can you predict, so we can make the right investments 10, 15 years into the future? And what I brought to them were really elements of the S10. They ended up investing, and I was 100% accurate back in 2015 working with these CEOs to exactly what's happening today. And to illustrate, I'm going to show you another video I created to illustrate what's happening now in the banking sector, particularly with quantum computing.
We have a habit of underestimating the future. In 2007, the iPhone arrived. Within 1 year, the mobile computing paradigm shifted entirely. What was novel became ubiquitous almost overnight. We've seen computing power explode while costs collapse. In 2016, a state-of-the-art AI room-sized supercomputer cost nearly $130,000. Today, in 2025, you get a palm-sized cube. Same petaflop performance for under $4,000. That's a 97% cost reduction in less than a decade. And adoption curves? They are compressing violently. Now, apply that velocity of change to the global financial services sector, an industry managing $160 trillion in assets. We are standing at the edge of the quantum era, and it promises to be the most disruptive technological shift of our lifetime. By 2035, quantum computing is projected to add $2 trillion to the global economy. Over $600 billion of that value will be generated right here in financial services. This isn't a science experiment. This is a multi-billion-dollar value driver arriving within the next decade. The race has already begun. The leaders aren't just watching, they're betting big. JP Chase just announced a $1.5 trillion investment in frontier technologies over the next decade. It's not just banks. In October 2025, Microsoft's CEO reorganized his leadership team to personally focus on the convergence of AI, HPC, quantum, and more. One of the world's biggest tech firms is positioning itself at the epicenter of this transformation. They know what's coming, and we are already seeing the wins in testing proof of concepts. Look at JP Morgan's work on portfolio optimization. A task that took 5 minutes on a classical setup. A quantum algorithm solved it in 0.3 seconds. That's a 1,000 times speed up. Imagine rebalancing complex portfolios in near real time. Look at HSBC. They used a quantum-enhanced model for corporate bond trading. The result? A 34% improvement in predicting which trades would execute, compared to their best conventional methods. In trading, 34% isn't an edge, it's a revolution. Look at the Bank of Canada. They used quantum techniques to optimize the settlement of large interbank payments. By simply reordering the queue, They can free up Canadian $240 million in liquidity daily. These aren't theoretical projections. These are real test results, achieved with today's early-stage quantum technology. For the last 15 years, quantum development has been a marathon, but the timeline has shifted. The next 5 years, from 2025 to 2030, are the sprint. This is the moment when capability is built. This is the moment when the winners of the next decade are decided. The future of banking will be shaped by quantum technology. The only question is, will you be shaping it or reacting to it?
So there you see JP Morgan 1,000 times, HSBC 34%. The Bank of Canada at times could save over $1 billion in daily liquidity using quantum. Now, what you may not know is 80% of the top 50 banks are now exploring quantum solutions, both on the defensive and offensive side. JP Morgan is clearly in the lead with 50% of new IP generation and about 60% of new hires. And a week ago, I was invited back by these banking leaders to do an entire day. I actually did about a 90-minute keynote with about 5 hours of AMA, Ask Me Anything, to double down on the investments on this quantum side. Okay, so the IEEE conducted a study of the top global tech leaders to see what they consider to be the most important technologies for this year. So you see AI, cloud, robotics, extended reality, industrial IoT, quantum, and EV. But look at the two top areas they're interested in implementing this year. 35% at quantum and 37% at humanoid robots. And IEEE has the best robotics website. It's an open website. Recommend you have a look. Now, this was just released by Figure AI. It's called the Figure 3 robots, already in production. It uses something called a vision language action helix model that can generalize. In other words, it doesn't need a human co-pilot like all the other examples you're seeing on the web today. It can work autonomously. I did capture this, but I did speed it up a bit just because of time constraints. So they just finished raising around about $1 billion at 39 billion posts so they can scale production. But look at the investors: NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Intel, Salesforce, LG, and others. Now, I did a fireside with Vinod Khosla, legendary entrepreneur and investor with the ACM, and he's even indicating that we're going to see billions of these things integrated within our communities within the coming years. Okay, so now let's take a look at healthcare and the implementations of healthcare. Keep in mind, I produced a briefing report. It's one of the 12. So I'm not going to get into every detail. You can just look at that report. So just look at 2 items on this slide. You saw AlphaFold expand protein structures by 1,000 times. So a few years ago, the known protein structure universe was 214,000. Now it's 214 million. You can take that information, you can virtualize that into cells and even digital people. So this has applications in renewable energy, in environmental sciences, evolutionary history, and clearly in healthcare. Now, Demi Hassabis last year won the Nobel Prize for this work, and he's the head of AI at Google. They've taken this technology and they embedded it into a startup called Isomorphic Labs, in which they spun out of Google this year. They raised $600 million. They got about $8 billion commitments from Novartis and Eli Lilly, based on milestones, and they're already targeting clinical trials. You can also automate discovery of programmable materials and new kinds of material design using autonomous labs. A good example is Microsoft. They've got something called MatterGen. They actually published in Nature this year, and they open sourced it in GitHub. So I produced a video to illustrate now the convergence of these S10 and healthcare innovation.
Welcome to the future of health tech, beyond buzzwords and into execution. The next decade will recast healthcare as an AI-native platform for discovery, diagnosis, and delivery, driven by 10 converging technology domains we call the S10. First, supercomputing, the digital crucible. What's new? AI plus HPC collapses R&D from weeks to minutes and lets labs triage at planetary scale. Aurora's AI-assisted screen, approximately 50 billion molecules in approximately 20 minutes, is the canonical truth. Second, advanced chips, smarter silicon for health. Roadmaps continue. TSMC N2 in 2025 with efficiency and performance gains. Advanced packaging expands capacity for AI workloads. These power imaging, genomics, and bedside AI. Specialized accelerators become strategic differentiators for health AI platforms. Third, advanced networking. 6G is being designed as a fabric that communicates and senses AI native and at every layer, while edge compute brings sub-50 millisecond loops. Example, Proximite lets experts virtually scrub in, with future networks making collaboration more deterministic and scalable. Fourth, quantum technology. Near term, migrate to post-quantum cryptography. Midterm, hybrid quantum classical workflows emerge in chemistry and biopharma. Cleveland Clinic and IBM built a quantum HPC discovery accelerator for translational research, with IBM targeting fault-tolerant systems by 2029. Fifth, advanced materials, generative models such as MatterGen and self-driving labs compress design, build test loops, moving from serendipity to on-demand materials. Sixth, AI and machine learning, the intelligent heart. Clinical co-pilots move from burnout relief to CFO-grade ROI, tying notes to coding and cash flow. Average and ambience anchor the category as systems standardize on ambient AI, moving from co-pilot to orchestrate. Seventh, robotics and automation. Surgical and perioperative robots expand, but fastest ROI comes from RPA in revenue cycle and hospital logistics. Automation shifts human time from low-value tasks to patient care, an operational and safety win. 8. Biomedical innovation. First, CRISPR therapy. Casgevy approved. AI-designed drugs have reached phase 2 trials. The Emirati Genome Program, approximately 802,000 genomes, creates a dense national asset for precision medicine, powered by regional AI and HPC. Like neurotechnology and BCIs, invasive and minimally invasive trials advance. Apple's BCI pathway enables native device control for assistive use. Neuro rights discussions, led in Latin America by Chile, signal early moves on mental privacy and data protections. 10. Renewable energy and storage. US DOE estimates data centers could reach 6.7 to 12% of US electricity by 2028. Healthcare AI rides the same curve. Operators are adding on-site power and exploring firm, clean power to secure capacity. The S10 are not silos. Durable advantage emerges where they intersect. AI times genomics for programmable biology, AI times HPC times materials for autonomous discovery, AI times networks times robotics for decentralized care. Let's go beyond the buzz and build a healthier, smarter future together.
So there you go. You saw Casgevy. They have already been FDA approved for CRISPR therapies. There's about 150 patients already in the queue. The startup in silico medicine is actually having that AI-designed drug in phase 2 clinical trials. I estimate that some drug will be approved by 2027. Now, TIBI is the Terasaki Institute of Biomedical Innovation, and their faculty are spinning out startups. For example, there's one called On Vegas, where they can use a non-invasive patch to stimulate the vagus nerve to treat cancer and diabetes. There's another one called iOrgan Bio Cell Forge, where they can use AI and robotics to scale the manufacture of organoids, tiny mini organs that you can use for treatments and diagnostics and drug discovery. Now, TIBI, and I happen to be on the leadership board of TIBI, we're actually working now on 3D printing of organs, and we figure we'll have this complete in about 5 years, and we're starting with the liver because that's the most difficult, and we already solved the immune response. We can eliminate it. What that means is we'll be to basically mass produce any part of a human body. Okay, so what are some of the top resources in the world? All of them have some kind of open source, freely available information. I am embedded in all of these, so I'm familiar with all of them. So there's the ACM, we're #1 in computing science. We have the Turing Award, which is the Nobel Prize in computing science. We have Sudhindra, who's the president, upcoming, IEEE, the largest science and engineering organization in the world, both of entrepreneurship programs. Now combined, we have over 2,500 conferences, 250 journals, and 80 sub-organizations, many #1 in the world. We have ITU, AI for Good. It's now the world's largest sustainable tech solutions program. They have something like 100 projects. They're all open. You can freely join them. And we have an innovation factory for startups. There's the World Food Program, and they have the Innovation Accelerator. It's the largest in the UN system. Again, it's an open system. You can freely join. There's the World Innovation Technology Services Alliance. We represent 90% at the tech industry at the leadership level, like all of you here, and we have a World Cup for scaling startups. Of course, I'm embedded in sovereign funding and all sorts of resources there. Microsoft, by the way, has the world's largest startup ecosystem. We partner with NVIDIA. Any startup can apply. If you get approved, you get access to all sorts of resources, and we have a program called Pegasus, which is our unicorn builder. Now, Sally Ann Frank is the head of health and life sciences within the program. She's just written a great best-selling book called The Startup Protocol. It's so popular, she's now written another one called The Unicorn Protocol, which will be released in a few weeks in December, and I've had the honor to write the foreword for it. Now, Peter Lee, he's been on my ACM board when I was chairing, and just a marvelous world-class innovator. He's the president of Microsoft Research and Development. I estimate their spend this year is $32.488 billion, growing at about 10 to 12% a year. I'm spotlighting these two because they post daily on innovation. They're always pointing to resources. I recommend you follow them on LinkedIn. Now, let's step back and build a bit of context. You saw NVIDIA cross $5 trillion in market cap earlier. You saw Google just released their Gemini 3. We talked about Microsoft, and there's going to be some other companies as well. But the top 4 by 2030 will have over $2 trillion in annual repeat revenues. There'll be over 20 trillion in market capitalization, and combined, we'll have over 200 billion in annual research and development. And again, a lot of the material they produce is open source, so great resources. Now, I've been doing interviews with, doing interviews for 5 decades, and they appear with the IEEE TAMS, so have a look. I do now about 100 a year, and there's been about 1,500 since the year 2000, with some of the top leaders in the world. And just to illustrate, here's Bob Langer. I just finished one with him. 1,500 patents used by over 400 companies, 450,000 citations, most in history for an engineer. One of 9 institute professors at MIT, their highest rank. He's got the largest lab there. He's co-founded or founded over 40 companies, including Moderna. I actually work with his family investment office. So here, he's going to talk about current breakthrough research where they can take 6 cells of the brain, create a precision organoid, a mini brain on a chip with a blood-brain barrier. And they're just publishing on this now. He's also going to talk, and I'll play this shortly, where with gene editing, typically you get a lot of errors, but with a special kind of prime editing that they've discovered, they can pretty well eliminate errors. So here's Bob Langer.
Out working with Li Wei Sai at MIT, who's a brain scientist, and Alice Stanton, who's one of my postdocs. What we've been doing is creating personalized brains in vitro, like on a chip. So we've been able to actually do that. We'll have a paper coming out in a month or two. It's already accepted. But it's very exciting to me that we could take anybody's cells, convert them into what are called an iPS cell, and then convert those into any of the 6 brain cell types. And then actually Alice figured out a way to reorganize them in a way to actually, with the right kind of matrix, so they'll actually mimic a brain, have a blood-brain barrier, have the same kinds of structures. And so that, to me, could be a tremendous tool for drug discovery, for understanding new targets for diseases like Alzheimer's or ALS or other things. Well, we have another thing with gene editing that we did just, we'll have a paper coming out very soon on this with Phil Sharp and Vikas, who was one of our postdoc who really did all this. Is one of the exciting things about gene editing is that you can do what's called prime editing, which is a very powerful approach. But one of the issues with gene editing is it's not always error-free. In other words, you get what are called indels, and so you get some, you know, you could get from that sometimes, you know, possibly, if you used it clinically, possibly safety issues. So because he actually come up with a way to essentially eliminate those, or at least reduce it by a tremendous amount, by engineering some new kinds of prime editors. And that, I also think, will be a very big deal. That could make this field, you know, it was already tremendously exciting. I hope even more so.
So this one here was Elias Khan, the founder of the world's largest integrated quantum computing company. I just released this literally like a day ago. And the reason is they have a massive announcement with NVIDIA, a massive announcement because they released their next version of their quantum computer, which is the most advanced currently from an error correction heading towards fault tolerance, utility, and advantage, and in the near term. So keep in mind, these are really happening in real time. So initially, he's going to talk about their latest funding round, and then he'll talk about some of the technology they're using, and then the application, and that's in biology. So here he is.
And I think that NVIDIA joining this round, and Fidelity joining this round, and Quanta joining this round, alongside, as you say, JP Morgan, who've invested from their balance sheet, Amgen, who've invested as well, Honeywell, of course. My own company, Cambridge Quantum Holdings, has invested again. And there's a really very nice validation that is this long thread that joins successful companies going back over now many, many decades, which is that if you have large, important shareholders, and these shareholders have proximity to what you do,
Yeah, for sure.
then you really have nowhere to hide. I think the bigger groundwork in terms of societal impact is this inclusion of Guppy with Helios and the whole sort of platform that means that essentially anybody can approach a quantum computer and run or design applications without needing to be a quantum computing information theorist. I think that that tipping point for commercialization is in fact 100 logical qubits. And we will be the first to get there years before anybody else. That when Stephen Hawking thought about quantum computers, he thought about the fact that they would help us to solve the most intractable problems in the most intractable subject, which is biology. You know, I've talked about this before. 19th century was about chemistry. The 20th was about physics. The 21st is about biology. And I really, really can't emphasize enough how important the societal impact will be of the stuff that we're doing in quantum because of the impact on solving the really important issues, whether it's photosynthesis, whether it's genomics, whether it's nitrogen fixation, which is not quite biology, but nevertheless, it's those areas that excite me, and I remind people that that's why quantum matters.
So I'm targeting my 4th interview coming up with John Hennessy. I've already done 3. If you don't know him, he's the chairman of Alphabet Corporation, 16 years, the president of Stanford. He co-invented RISC architecture, which is like 99% of all chips. So you'll find them with IEEE TAMS, with our incoming president here, who's in the audience. So we're going to do a panel session tomorrow. So if you have any questions, save it for our panel session. And I'm going to be here the entire 3 days. So if you have questions, happy to engage with you. So we talked about the future of everything in the S10 shift era. We looked at these 10 converging technologies. I gave you real examples today, forecasting into 2030. I showed you an example with quantum computing, and then in finance. I showed you a study by IEEE, very much cementing in line with the S10 shift. We looked at robotics and the fact that they're now becoming autonomous. I showcased a use case in this terms of biomedical innovation and what's happening there. And then we did 2 firesides with 2 giants in the industry, Bob Langer. No one is more awarded than him in biomedical innovation, and of course the #1 quantum computing company currently, which is Quantinuum. So that's the QR code to my presentation and my deck. I do have 12 exploratory reports in there. They're not an endpoint, they're a beginning so that you can then continue to explore what's happening in the future. There's about 500 pages there, so more than supporting anything that I've said here today. So capture that QR code, capture those 12 reports. It's actually more than 12, but so I want to thank you for allowing me to share some of my insights with you. This is a marvelous conference. As I indicated, I believe India is really the future focus of innovation, talent, and youth, and you will be the driver of this convergence of abundance in these S10 converging technologies. I should mention that Dr. Stephen Shaya and I are formulating a new investment vehicle. We're planning about $1 billion a year in investment, and we're definitely now looking at what's happening in this investment platform. So this is the first kind of official announcement of what we're going to be doing, and we're recapitalizing every year, so basically at least $1 billion plus US a year. Anyways, that's upcoming, and I'm going to start doing some scouting. INFOCOM is the best conference. You are the premier conference in the world today because you're the center of the universe. I want to congratulate everything that you're doing here, and to the organizers, a terrific job. So that ends my talk, and again, happy to engage with you over the next 3 days.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibaraki, for that powerful look into the future. We would like to felicitate you and will request Mr. Dhruva Mukherjee, CEO of ABP Group, to do the honors. May I request you, sir, to kindly come on stage?
It was a real pleasure. It was a real pleasure. Awesome conference. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ibaraki, and thank you, Mr. Dhruva Mukherjee. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue with another forward-looking perspective from a global cloud and AI leader. Please welcome Dr. Biswajit Mahapatra, Head Customer Solutions and CIO Advisory, AWS, for his keynote. A round of applause for him as he takes on the stage.
Good morning, all. Good morning. Great. What a beautiful day it is, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you today. I'm very happy to see many of my customers, partners, industry friends all around here. So let me start my presentation with 3 things. What I'm going to cover today is first, how industry is reshaping today. Number 2, I'm going to talk about what magic we are building. And number 3, what is the opportunity that lies ahead of all of us. Let me start with how industry is reshaping today. We all know the world is becoming more intelligent, more interconnected, and more instrumented today. That is giving all of us an opportunity to think differently, act differently, and transform differently, socially, economically, as well as technically. There is evolution of a new business paradigm that's happening ahead of all of us. And it's again happening around three distinct dimensions. The first dimension is new business model. As we all know, the entire industry is evolving around new business processes. Every organization today is trying to reshape the business model. There is focus around market activation. And the number two dimension is all about actionable insights as well as orchestrated operations. And the third one, which is the last one but not the least, is all about building new expertise. How can we build the restless talent? Every organization today is trying to build that restless talent within the organization. And number two in that line is all about how can we orchestrate the entire ecosystem. And I remember ex-CEO of Ginni Rometty talking about, ex-CEO of IBM, Ginni Rometty talking about, there is nothing called competition today. It's all about competition. Competition plus cooperation all together working out. That's the way the industry is really shaping out today. You heard Mr. Stephen talking about different next-gen technologies and how that is influencing the industry. And today, if you really look at secure cloud platform is the foundation on which the next-gen technologies are built, helping organizations to reinvent the business at this point of time. There are multiple parameters that's playing very, very critical role here. The first one is all about agile culture. Every organization is trying to become agile, become nimble to drive value proposition for themselves as well as for their customers. In the same time, there is increased focus around ecosystem expansion that every organization is trying to do. There is increased focus around next-gen technologies, cognitive automation, AI, ML, which I will cover quickly in next few minutes. And in the same time, there is exploration of next-gen applications, the SaaS ecosystem, as well as intelligent workflows that's happening all around us. That's the way the business is really trying to shaping up today. Let's quickly move into the next part. What's really focused around what magic we are trying to build today with the explosion of all those technologies we heard about, whether it is cognitive automation, AI, ML, quantum computing, high performance computing, sustainability, so on and so forth. This is something that's given by McKinsey, almost $3.5 trillion opportunity for AI adoption. And many of us try to figure out what's really is the golden use case that we need to focus on. And as per McKinsey, the real golden use case is nothing but the software development use case. And how the software development paradigm is really changing. Let me talk about a customer scenario for all of us to align to. Let's look at a customer here and look at the business challenges the customer is really facing. There is an old legacy monolithic application within customer environment which is made probably 30 years back, made up of 10 million plus lines of code and completely undocumented. Even if the documentation is there, the documentation is not in sync with the source code. The biggest challenge for the customer is increasing tech debt, rising maintenance cost, and in the same time, absence of legacy resources. I'm sure all of you live through this every day. Today, for the next gen developers, next gen builders, if you ask them to learn any of the legacy technologies, probably they will say you thank you very much and run out of the room quickly, right? Nobody is ready to learn those legacy technologies today. So how this business can survive? And it's a mission critical application that runs the bread and butter of the organization. Customer wants this application to be modernized to some modern architecture with reduced risk and in the same time with greatest of operational stability. How do you do it? Any idea anyone want to highlight? If this is the application and this is the problem statement that's thrown to you, how do you address this problem? 10 million line of code, undocumented. Where do we really start? That is what every organization is today grappling with. It's almost like a oh my God problem. That is the reason most of the modernization engagements within organizations either do not kick off, or if they kick off, they really don't see the day of the light. So how do you really translate this oh my God problem to on my way problem? How do you really handle this problem and help our customers to move to that modern architecture, become more agile and become more futuristic? The answer is again another oh my God, OMG, right? It's not oh my God now, it's object management group. Can I request a raise hand? How many of you really practice object management group here? Yeah, at least I see few hands here. Great. So, what does really object management group says and what role really AI, GenAI, agentic AI plays here to address this business problem? Today, as we all know, AI assistants are redefining the developer productivity. And I will make it very simple for all of us to align to. We have an old system, you saw the customer business problem, which is made up of oldest of technologies. I'm sure some of us must have heard of technologies like COBOL, Natural, PL1, so on and so forth, or not so old technologies like C, C++, Fox Pro. Many of us has gone through that journey. And the need of the customer is to move to something new, something modern, Java, C#, or whether it's min stack or mon stack, that's pretty prevalent in the industry today. And it's a very much software development project, and it will go through its own software development life cycle, starting from analysis to design to development. So how do you really leverage AI and GenAI to do this project through various software development life cycles? Today, we have smart static and dynamic analysis tools that can help us to analyze those massive 10 million line of code and click of a button and create 32 different kind of language, different kind of reports that can extract business rules, logic and workflows from the source code. In the same time, there are conversion tools, again thanks to AI, can convert those legacy monolithic applications to something which is Java. Is this good Java or bad Java? This is bad Java, right? Because it's coming from a very, very monolithic world. But the biggest advantage is you can reverse engineer this Java code to what we call as a base UML diagram. Still not good UML diagram, but in a very short span of time, something that was like an elephant and you touch different body parts of the elephant as a blind man, you probably can think it's different things there. But today, because of the advent of AI and institutionalization of AI processes and mechanisms, you could have the UML diagram which is standardized, created from those legacy monolithic code in a very short span of time. Now, you can leverage agentic AI that the agents can crawl through different architecture patterns, design patterns to refine those base UML diagrams to something that is like your solution blueprint. And once your solution blueprint is available with all the rules, business processes embedded within the solution blueprints, today we have mechanisms to automatically forward engineer that blueprint to your target application. Click of a button. So what's the advantage here? Because of the automation that we are driving at different phases, leveraging AI is going to make us more productive, more quality oriented, and can give us time to market advantage. That's the role exactly AI is going to play when we try to deliver the most important use cases, that is software development use cases for all of us. Okay? So where code meets cognition, you can leverage AI and agentic AI today across various parts of your software development lifecycle to get those productivity benefits. Starting from, like I just talked about, AI assisted code generation. You can do test case generation. You can do automated code reviews. You can do the whole 9 yards of DevOps, site reliability engineering, observability, and implementation of chaos engineering practices as well. Building self-healing applications, context-aware applications, adaptive software development capabilities. Today, AI, Gen AI and agentic AI has penetrated into all aspects, all layers of software development capabilities. That's helping all of us to become more productive at this juncture. And to add to that, we can leverage AI-driven development lifecycle that we call as AI DLC that can help us to move from AI-assisted development to AI-driven development to AI-managed development. And here is the benefit from one of the customer where by leveraging this approach, the customer has got 4.5 times return on investment while cutting the software development cost by half. That's the benefit AI is delivering us for software development capabilities. Good. So I call it as the dawn of a Renaissance developer. Many of us probably know that tools does change, but the fundamentals really endure. We have been hearing about is AI going to take a lot of developer jobs, but I see probably that trope is not a valid trope. Why? We all have been there in the past. Computers will come and take out jobs. We all heard about that. Same times, many of you who are assembler programmers some point of time probably know that when compilers came, people thought that compilers will take the job of assembler developers. Same thing in late 2000 when cloud became very prevalent, many of us thought that operational engineers' jobs are going to be redundant. It's not. With advent of cloud, the jobs became more prevalent, and with explosion of cloud technology, there are more opportunities that opened up. We are exactly at the same inflection point. The fundamentals are not going to change for developers, right? And what are those fundamentals? Again, 3 things: curiosity, creativity, as well as system thinking. That's what I call as the developer's key capabilities, and that's what every Renaissance developer really need to possess, right? Like the thinkers of Renaissance, those of you aware of the history, were not limiting themselves to any of the capabilities or any of the silos and pretty much open to explore and take risks. Same time, every developer today really need to act as a Renaissance developer and be open to explore and expand their capabilities across the domain. Good. So then what's the opportunity for all of us? Let me quickly talk about some of the points. And I know there are quite a lot of things that I could go on talking, but to add to, I'm going to focus on 5 frontiers, which I feel most important frontiers for all of us. Frontier number 1, AI adoption momentum is real. Today, if you really look at 72% of the people believe that at least organizations are going to touch some kind of Gen AI in next few years. In the same time, 50% of the organizations are piloting agentic AI as we talk about, and 40% of them are going to adopt AI, Gen AI and agentic AI very soon. So the momentum is real. Organizations are really embedding those capabilities. But having said that, the most important part is, the key is to really discover the golden use cases, right? The core use cases basically that makes the organization more futuristic, strengthen organization's capability and help them to achieve the business advantage in coming days. The non-core use cases, That's our table stakes, that's given, and everybody has to really adopt it, and most organizations has really tried to adapt those non-core use cases today. Like Michio Kaku, one of the famous scientists on AI, Gen AI, used to say, we are actually in 100 years of journey when it comes to artificial intelligence. And we all have been there, right, in the recent past, starting from generative AI assistants to generative AI agents to autonomous agents, where we need probably less human touch. But having said that, when we are going through this journey, it's very important for all of us to work in tandem and look at some of the important aspects like trustworthy AI, right? When we are building the agents, we are taking the 100 years leap for generative AI. Are we really ready when it comes to responsible AI? Are we really about building those intelligent systems? And there are a lot of work needs to be done with government, academia, as well as corporate collaborations to drive those policies as we move forward from here. That will really make the AI journey very, very successful for all of us. Frontier number 2, you heard a lot of discussion about quantum from Mr. Stephen's session earlier, but I strongly feel quantum safe becomes the only safe today. Think about our own personal data, financial data, state secrets. Threat actors have been mining those data for some times now and getting prepared when the quantum computing really takes a quantum leap. If we as organizations, we as decision makers are not really ready and thinking that probably quantum is going to take time to do things, then we are asking for trouble for ourselves. How do we really implement quantum cryptography, neuromorphic cryptographic algorithms to make our data safe with the advent of quantum technology is exactly the need of the hour. Whatever was working in the earlier quantum infrastructure way, whether it's public key infrastructure, those systems need new mathematical foundations to really get built. So that's the time now for all of us to think about and see how could you prepare ourselves for getting ready to take that quantum leap and talk about that quantum safe in coming days. Frontier number 3 that I strongly believe about is sustainability driving innovation. We all know that whether it is going carbon neutral, whether it's solving the water crisis across the world, AI, Gen AI and the next gen technologies are going to play very, very important role when it comes to sustainability, right? And we all need to really prepare for that. That's our commitment to the organizations, commitment to the society, commitment to the people and commitment to all of us. One such thing that I could talk about is about energy efficiency. That's getting a new architecture. One of the recent studies done in US says probably today the US data centers consume 4% of the state's energy, right? Quite huge. And if not addressed in next 5 years, it is going to consume 9% of the nation's energy. Is there a mechanism to address that? Yes, of course. By moving from those legacy infrastructures to hyperscaler infrastructures in data centers, we could improve the energy efficiency by 25% in next 5 years. Is it not interesting, all of us? That is the thing we should really focus on. The next frontier I wanted to really talk about is about polyfunctional robots, right? With advent of robotics, and you saw some nice videos earlier as well, I think polyfunctional robots are going to be the final solution in coming days. In every industry, whether it is manufacturing industry, whether it's healthcare industry, whether it is retail industry, everywhere it's going to be advent of robots as we come forward. And one of the study done by one of the leading agency in US confirms that almost 80% of the humans are going to be touched by robots by 2030. 80% of the humans. So somewhere or other we all are going to working with robots in next 5 years. right? So that's basically the frontier number 4 that I wanted to talk about. Frontier number 5, defense technology changes the world. What does that mean? Like we have all have seen that defense systems uses the drones, the screens, the precision systems, and when it comes to the civilians, probably it takes time and things does change. But more and more, what is happening today is that you could see both civilian and defense systems are converging almost on a real-time basis to provide advantages. Today, look at any disaster response system, any healthcare system, probably we get access to all of those things today. Like even if we talk about the Ukraine war, what happens? Probably a farmer who is using a consumer drone actually collecting a lot of reconnaissance data and sharing with the country, talking about probably the inflection points that's existing there. So that's the way the civilian and defense systems are really converging today on real-time basis, and we'll see more and more that happening in coming days. Yeah, those are the global trends that's happening, and all of us has to really embrace that. Coming to India opportunity, right? I strongly believe India is one of the world's largest open market for technology companies to solve. Why is that? Look at India's metrics. Almost 5 million plus developer population that is expected to grow 7.5 million in next 5 years. 18% of the world's developer community. Second largest STEM population exists in India. More than 1700 plus GCCs that operate out of India, and almost 80% of the business decision makers today believe that somewhere or other they are going to work on Gen AI in coming days to drive business benefits for their organization as well as for the society. We are at a very, very inflection point when it comes to India to get the right skills, get the right capability, and transform ourselves to address the challenges and opportunities that comes on our way in coming days. So what's the road ahead? If you really look at this, the road ahead is 3 things. We all know that the work is going to change. There will be change in work. Second, there will be change in worker as well. And third, there will be change in workforce. When I say change in work, the way we are working, it's not going to work in the same way. When I say change in work, there are a lot of tasks are going to be automated. In the same time, there are a lot of new use cases that's going to come up that's going to give us benefit. Coming to change in worker, the way you used to do job, I just talked about the rise of Renaissance developer. The way you used to do work, that's going to change. Almost every work, every job is going to be redefined, reshaping in coming days. And change in workforce. The workforce of the future is going to be really hybrid. Human and robots are going to work together in tandem to deliver the outcomes in coming days. Yeah, this is probably my very favorite slide that I always present in all of my keynotes. What do you see on the slide? What's the feeling that you get? Are you feeling good? Okay, so this is actually a slide from one of my customer, AXA, and this was used by Peter Nautilus in one of the AWS summit in New York. And AXA, when started to learn the new technologies, the next gen technologies, AXA always felt like the toddler that you see on the slide, right? A lot of curiosity that I talked about earlier, right? And we do many times analysis, paralysis, a lot of whiteboarding to learn things. But I strongly believe the best way to learn is actually to jump. And that's what you see the toddler is doing basically, right? And when you jump, you learn, right? And of course, learning next gen technologies is actually fun, and there are guiding systems available that all of us can leverage to learn those next gen technologies and keep us prepared. Like Jeff Bezos says, there is actually no compression algorithm for experience. So we all should prepare ourselves to get that experience and get ready for address the next 10 years opportunities that lies ahead of all of us. So here is an opportunity for all of us to unlock business value and innovation through T3s. Any guess? What are those T3s? Talent, technology, as well as transformation. My honest request to all of you will be to embrace that and prepare ourselves, our teams, our people in coming days to address those opportunities. Yeah, I'll probably close my session here with quoting Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and he said, you have to really dream before your dreams come true. And here we are pushing the boundaries to make our dreams come true by leveraging the capabilities of next gen technologies. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for being patient to hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahapatra, for those excellent insights. May I request Mr. Dhruba Mukherjee to kindly come forward to offer a gift of gratitude. Here is Mr. Dhruba Mukherjee.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The CEO of the ABP Group, presenting a memento to Dr. Mahapatra.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our first fireside chat of INFOCOM 2025. We are taking a couple of minutes to do the setup, as you can see. We will now welcome on stage Mr. Raju Vigesna, Chairman and MD, CIFI Technologies, who will be in conversation with Mr. Arnab Basu, Client and Industries Leader, PwC India. And this is going to be our first fireside chat of INFOCOM 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Raju Vigesna, Chairman and MD, CIFI Technologies, who will be in conversation with Mr. Arnab Basu, Client and Industries Leader, PwC India, for the first fireside chat of INFOCOM 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, give us a moment to start off with the fireside chat. That will be between CIFI and PwC. But like I had said in the morning, we have 3 days of fantastic sessions. So we expect that each one of you is going to be here, participate, ask questions, also share your pictures across different social media handles. So I'm sure all of you are going to have a great time. Mr. Dhruba Mukherjee had already set the tone in the beginning by telling you what a splendid time we're going to have for INFOCOM 2025 this year. And we are all looking forward to today's evening when we are going to have a conversation with Mr. Harsha Bhogle. So be there, please. And I would now like to welcome onto the stage Mr. Raju Vigesna, Chairman and MD, CIFI Technologies, who will be in conversation with Mr. Arnab Basu, Client and Industries Leader, PwC India. And this is the first fireside chat of INFOCOM 2025. Please put your hands together for these wonderful gentlemen as they take us through some of their points of view. The applause should be louder because we're just starting the event. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's going to get a little cold, but keep yourself warm by clapping every time our speakers come on stage. Thank you. And over to our two persons who are going to speak wonderfully right now.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's indeed a privilege and pleasure to be here back at INFOCOM this year. And, thanks to ABP for, organizing this fireside chat. What we would like to do over the next half an hour is obviously I will have a few questions for Raju, and we'll try to get nuggets of wisdom out of him. But just to put in context what we are trying to do here today, I think artificial intelligence is on everybody's mind today, right? And if you look at it, we are probably at a point of inflection, because if you look at it, the AI models have now started passing the Turing test in terms of, behaving and showing human-like intelligence against human evaluators. We have also got into this entire use case, I would say race, where almost all the large companies have, tried and tested multiple use cases. In many cases, without even understanding why they are doing these use cases. In many cases, not realizing what data needs to be there to make those use cases work. But even after that, if those use cases work, what value does it really bring to the organization or to the ecosystem or to the broader society in general? And there are issues around how do you build trust in the AI models. There are issues around governance of AI systems which we set up. But I think the biggest question which we should ask as a group, and where we would probably get into the first question to Mr. Vegesna, is what is stopping the bold execution? If you think of it, the technology is here, the platforms are here, the data models are here, but is it a question of the cyber risks? Is it a question of just the cost of building these AI models and maintaining them as the tokens keep growing? Is it a bit of the macroeconomics? Is it a bit of, margin pressure? Or is it about the complex regulatory challenges around skill access, around reputational risk, around, the overall market and the pace of change in the market, which is stopping us from really getting into bold execution? And we keep hearing about sectoral use cases, how some of the sectors are ahead of others. But, whether it is about the agentic tools, around the automation which is coming out, whether we are trying to, keep debating whether we are trying to displace or empower our human workers, whether we are thinking of augmentation versus disruption. I think these questions are, there to be answered. And who better than to get Mr. Vegesna to, speak about some of these. So maybe I'll start with the first question. Raju, many organizations are excited about AI, right? But very few have achieved real impact. As I said, that the bold execution is very much a dream even now. From your experience, where does the AI journey begin and what is stopping the bold execution?
Hello everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. So the way I look at AI is nothing a new technology or anything. It's more of an evolution. So the way we went to internet, the way we went to social media, I consider this thing AI is a next productive of a mankind evolution, right? Giving, for example, a motorcycle to a guy riding a bicycle, how you going to be used the motorcycle to go place A to B, that's what AI does. It's very simple. So when respecting to the AI, to be honest, the AI is still in a very nascent stage. And fundamentally the people are thinking, how do we start with AI? It's not the AI models, AI applications. First, we need to think about what is the fundamental digital foundation required to run the AI. Like giving a motorcycle with no roads, There's no point giving a motorcycle to a guy with no roads. So first we have to build a good foundation. I look at it having a good network, good data centers, good cloud platform, good security processes. All those things are very important before you invest in the AI. That's the way we look at it. AI fundamentals are very important. In fact, I met one of the big leading bank in Mumbai, and he mentioned that they have a great AI, brilliant AI plan, roadmap. Sir, but my network is a bottleneck. My network is not keeping up. I agree with that. So let's please look at investing on the basic fundamentals, having good network. And that the whole project is stalled because he is not invested in the network. He has to invest high quality network, high quality bandwidth, and it has to be resilient. Otherwise, what happens is you are investing in a engine and with a flat tires. So you have to invest in the network, you have to invest in the data centers, you have to invest in the cloud, you have to invest in the security. The basic 80% of the problems, if you can fix these fundamentals, running AI on top of this is very smooth ride. What is we are adding into AI compared to the automation? AI is adding an intelligent layer on top of an automation. That is the way I look at it. It's very simple technology and easy to understand how we humans evolved. That is the way I look at it. It's not it's not a revolution. It's more of evolution technology.
Thank you. Thank you. See, the other trend we have seen is that the industries are converging, right? And the industries are converging because of what AI is making possible. And I'll give you two examples. One is, my favorite example, which is if you look at the food industry, the beauty industry, the wellness industry, and the medicine industry, they're slowly converging. So you go to a pharmacy now, you see more nutrition products than medicines, right? And people are slowly focusing towards the outcomes, which is around sleep, around recovery, around energy, around confidence. Similarly, if you look at the auto industry, the kind of data which the auto manufacturers are getting from your driving behavior, the auto industry is slowly getting into other opportunities of getting into health, wellness, early onset of disease prediction, just because of the data which they have, which they earlier were not focused on. Not to mention more common use cases around insurance and driving behavior and all that. Now, as these industries are converging, and you talked about the digital foundation which you need, how do you see the digital foundations and the ecosystems working with each other? Because we still see these silos operating, and which is why some of these use cases do not become broad-based, right? So what's your thought around these industry convergence?
Yeah, that's a very good point, especially for AI. The way I look at it, it's like a 5 layers. Being, required for the AI, we need to have, if you look at it for AI training, you need a high bandwidth network. When you want to run inferencing, you need a low latency network. How do we build a network to accommodate these AI workloads, whether it's the training or inferencing? See, that's the reason I'm saying the current telecom networks, which are designed for a voice or maybe a little bit extended for the data movement, is not suitable for AI workloads. So we are creating a network with capable of delivering high bandwidth and low latency and self-healing. Why it's a self-healing is important. When you're running the AI workloads, when network fails, there is going to be a big impact on the AI workloads. You have to start again the whole training or inferencing. Similarly, when you're talking about the data centers, we need to have scalable and AI-ready data centers. When you're running the AI workloads, you need to have a lot of computing power. You need to take a lot of, when you're running a training, if you look at it, all the companies in US, where is their investments going on the infrastructure? Spending money on the GPUs, and how do we can accommodate this kind of a scalable data centers. Third one is, agnostic, a cloud AI platform. Cloud agnostic, any cloud. There is no one cloud suitable for all the things, depending on the workloads, and it should be, cloud agnostic AI platform. And the third one is a borderless security. The way we are using AI to advance technologies, and there is a bad guys are using AI to crack your layers. So in every layers of the technology, security is going to play a big role. On top of that, all the managed services, how we are talking, either being a network managed services, or a cloud and managed services, or security services, or application managed services, or should be run autonomously. We cannot use this L1, L2, L3. We have to build agents. How we can build these agents to run these things, to keep up with AI. Once we have this basic fundamental digital infrastructure, I think then only the organization is ready to run AI workloads. That is the way I look at it, how we can really see the benefit of AI.
No, thank you, and that's very interesting. Now, let me shift gears and get into something which is more closer to heart, India. Now, when we think of AI, and I think one of the critical parts of we look at AI advancements is what does it do for the bottom of the pyramid for our country, right? It's very easy to say that, okay, with, let's look at financial services as an industry. Can we make the banking system more efficient using AI? Yes, we can. But does it make a small entrepreneur have better access to microcredit? Is the banking system improving so that the Kalka Bharat gets more of, the fruits of that labor? Is still a question mark, right? And if you look at it, I think it's a time for us to keep track of those trees amidst the forest that we look at, because, India is yeah, we will become the third largest economy very shortly, but what's the point of that if there's so much which is still not being able to access, clean water, access to credit, access to capital, all of those things. So one of the things I want to ask you is that, of course, you tend to be spending about a third of your time now in India. Why are you spending so much time in India from your personal perspective? But more importantly, how you see AI being one of the biggest growth drivers for India compared to the rest of the world? And what do you think is the biggest risk for India in the AI space? So these are the three things. Firstly, why are you spending so much time in India? B, what is the biggest gain for India which is possible using AI, and the biggest threat?
See, India as a growth story, right? Still we are 4 trillion and long way to catch up. We may be reaching third position, but that is not the thing. How do we really get a third position very close to China or US? That means the growth potential for India is huge. If you look at it, when I look at the AI, where is why AI is taking, you look at all the announcements coming from US and China, LLMs, all these language models. Our fundamental issue is our research. We are lacking in the research. That is one of the reasons why we are lagging developing LLMs. I think which we will overcome over the time. But other aspects of the AI is the use cases. Look at Aadhaar. Look at our NPCI, UPI. Look at DG Yatra. That kind of use cases, maybe there is only China. Nobody can give that kind of use cases for AI. So how do we evolve from these use cases into science? How do we become a research? The way I look at it is the kind of entrepreneurship is growing, Bangalore, Chennai, and even in Calcutta. All these places, I think we are in the verge of putting India into the next lead. My confidence and India reaching to the next level, getting into that. There is plenty of money is available in the globe. And India has plenty of talent available. And getting into that stage of creating products and creating a research, I think if we overcome that, I think India has a lot of bright future. And AI, AI, this is not a 5 years technology. AI is the next 40 years it's going to continue. Because you are going to start implementing AI and you are going to learn new things and you are going to top it next. So what I see the AI, the journey of AI it's not just a 5 years. It's not going to happen, people talk it's going to happen in 5 years and all. Maybe that's good for private equity guys and all. As an entrepreneur, I'm saying it's going to take a long time and it's going to take the stages. But there is an excellent future for India, our country like India, because we have all the ingredients. One is, the way I look at it is a technology to scale. There are 3 pillars. One is scaling. If anything you start in India, it has to be scale. Second is, India is a very cost-effective market. I don't call cheap. It's a very cost-effective market. Third is sustainable. India is playing for a long-term game. So having these 3 characteristics in our country, I see there is a long potential for AI. And, the whole ecosystem is developing. I don't believe these LLMs investing trillions of dollars. I think let other people fund those and let's take the benefit of those technologies and create use cases and get best out of it, like our Aadhaar, our, that UPI, and even DG Yatra. Such a credible, most use cases is going to come from India. That is my belief.
So one of the things which we keep hearing about is the amount of data centers coming up in India. Obviously AI needs access to huge amount of data. What does it do to the environment in terms of sustainability? We know that all these data centers are huge guzzlers of power. In terms of the overall sustainability framework which the country is looking at, and our country is still so much dependent on conventional power compared to green power. What do you think is the view around that?
See, that is a very good question. People think we are going to consume all the power. But today, what are the existing data centers we have in India is consuming less than 0.5% of India power. India has such a great power. And India never been, power generation never been a problem. Power distribution was a problem. In the last 10 years, we solved that problem. Second, your question is renewable energy. We have, I think we are in the second country in the world producing more than 50% of our power coming from renewable, either from a solar or wind, and it's growing. So having our nice weather and having a wind and hydro, I think we can do a lot of renewable energy. I don't see it. Today, in fact, in our CIFI data centers, more than 60% of the power used from renewable energy. We are targeting that thing to reach 70 to 80% to reach renewable energy. So India never need to worry about the power because of the data centers. Third, the advantage of India. The way I look at is India, why data centers, you're saying everybody is attracted to India. If we look at to build a data center, cost to build a data center, we are one of the cheapest in the world. Compared to, like, for example, in the US or Europe, we are probably 40 to 50% cheaper than building a data center. And our power cost is 30 to 40% cheaper. The third important thing is we have the most IT skilled people in the world. How do we transform these IT skilled people to run the AI? Different aspects of the AI. That is going to be our biggest assets. That's the reason I will tell the people, come to India, host your training models in India. Now we have to connect India to the rest of the world. These data centers not only just for consumption of India, we have to be data centers hub of the world to be successful.
So again, changing gears, we have a room which is full of CIOs and entrepreneurs. For this group of entrepreneurs who probably have tech-driven products and the CIOs in the room, what would be your two advice on how to build a AI-ready future for themselves?
First, CIOs, is the old name, Chief Information Officer. Now I'm telling them their job is getting more difficult. I'm sorry for you, right? I'm not asking my CIO, give me the information. That information I can get it from online. I think the CIO I'm putting, I don't want to change I took from intelligent from AI. I said you becoming a Chief Intelligent Officer. So you have to get ready. An executive like me will ask the questions, how you are becoming relevant to my business, all the data. So my advice to the CIOs, Chief Intelligent Officers, first start with your digital foundation. Check, do you have good infrastructure, run the AI? Before you invest in AI models, do you have a good infrastructure? Network, data center, cloud, security practices, or do we have fundamentally clear? Second, modernize each layer. The third I want to say, for me, AI, it is a capabilities you are building in your organization. It's not a point project. You need to plan. AI is going to be a journey. It's not just a 6 months project or a 12 months project. You need to plan long term. What is your objectives you want to build organization of AI? And budget. Every year we have a budget. So what is you want to achieve that year? That is the way you should plan. Fourth one is very important. You need to put your outcome. What is my outcome for this 6 months or a 9 months AI capabilities project? That is the way if you focus, it's an outcome based, not a hype. My organization is AI ready. But what is you achieved with AI? How you became more relevant to AI? How you make your organization position to the competition much better? I think if you target like that, I think you will achieve your goals. That's the way I want to look at it. CIOs, new CIOs, Chief Intelligence Officers, should plan adoption of AI.
No, thank you, and that's very interesting. Chief Intelligence Officer, I know that some organizations have already started appointing Chief AI Officers as well, and I think the focus on outcomes and what you really want to achieve is a very good advice. Maybe at this, we touched upon a lot of topics. Maybe we can open this up for any questions from the audience. We still have a minute left on the clock. So, any questions from the audience for Mr. Vegesna? Okay. I don't see any hands. So since I don't see any hands, I would probably... Do I see a hand? Okay, I see a hand. Yep. If you can keep your question short, please, so that he can answer.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Raju. Thank you, Mr. Arnav. What I want to ask is that, like Mr. Raju said, that the data foundation is very crucial for the enterprise to achieve their AI dream and ambition. So what about the SMBs? I mean, how do they unlock the customer intelligence without having that enterprise-ready AI maturity or data maturity, you say? Thank you.
So essentially the question is how do the small and medium businesses access this kind of a digital foundation?
Yeah, and I think people are building, either organizations can build their own captive AI investments, CEO, what you call Center of Excellences, or companies like us, CP, we can offer a shared base to the SME market, so medium-sized companies. I think you will have access, not only we, there are other people are building to enable, because India, is big market, and you will not have any shortage of people like us providing a solutions for SME market.
Thank you. So on that note, I do get indications from the organizers that our time's up. So thank you, Mr. Vegesna, for a very interesting fireside chat. And with that, can I have a round of applause for Mr. Raju? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vegesna, Mr. Basu, for that engaging conversation. We would like to request Mr. Dhruva Mukherjee, CEO ABP Group, to kindly come forward and do the felicitations for Mr. Vegesna and Mr. Basu. Thank you, sir. Thank you to Mr. Vegesna and Mr. Basu for that wonderful conversation, that first fireside chat, and thank you to Mr. Dhruva Mukherjee. We request you to take your seats in the auditorium. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking just a couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes. As you can see, we have an expert team to do the setup while we go to the next leadership keynote. And the next leadership keynote is going to be very, very interesting. Our next keynote is from a leader who transformed the face of Indian banking and now shapes enterprises transformation across South Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Padma Shri Arundhati Bhattacharya, President and CEO of Salesforce South Asia. Warm welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. And it is indeed a great privilege to be on this podium today. I have been hearing about INFOCOM. In fact, I've taken part in one or two, but I have missed many. And given the quality of the keynotes that I've been listening to over here, it has been a big miss. But it also poses a big challenge for me, given the fact that there are so many keynotes at this particular conference, I found that everything that my team had prepared for me has already been spoken about. So what do I do in order to keep you all interested and maybe add a little bit of whatever you already know? Because at the end of the day, that's the point of the keynote. So I thought that instead of talking about everything that's been talked about already, about what is AI, what are the use cases, what are the risks, what are the possibilities for the future, I would instead talk about my own experience with AI. Maybe that might give you a few pointers. As you know, my background, academic background, is in the liberal arts. I did my postgraduate in English, and then at the age of 21 and a half, went ahead and joined a bank after passing through an All India examination. Knew nothing, zero about banking when I went in. The only time I had actually been to a bank was with my mother to open a locker, or when I went in order to get a draft which I needed to deposit at the time of joining as a kind of a bond. Okay? That was my entire experience of banking when I walked in. Well, when I walked into Salesforce, which is an IT company and which I head for India and the rest of ASEAN, the experience was slightly better, but not much. At least not from the vendor side. From the vendor side, again, experience was zero. From the customer side, not so much. I had, after all, been using technology in the banks for quite a while. And one thing I did realize when I joined was that that was probably the biggest value add that I could bring to this customer or to this vendor, because I could give the vendor the customer's point of view and make sure that we gave an offering to the people that we were approaching for taking on our products that would ensure that we are really addressing the customer's needs. But let's go back a little to understand how my first brush with actual AI happened as a person who's actually an OEM and who's actually selling technology. The first thing that happens in some of these companies, and we are a Silicon Valley company, is the cadence for sales. And in sales, we had these fantastic dashboards which could be very quickly configured to meet your needs. And in the dashboards, there is a column which said Einstein guidance. Einstein, by the way, is our AI engine, the predictive AI engine. Okay? So it gives a guidance on the numbers that you are going to be able to achieve at the end of the month. And I very quickly found that I was competing with Einstein, trying to beat the numbers that Einstein was predicting that I could do by the end of the month for my team, for India as an OU. And believe it or not, there were times when I could beat it. But on the whole, in majority, Einstein beat us hollow every time. To the point guidance as to how much we would be able to do. But this was something that was really and truly, you know, a moment of aha moment for me. Because when I was chairman of SBI, for instance, I was always asked for guidance. What's your NIM going to be? What's your growth going to be? How much advances are you going to give? How much in retail? How much in mortgage? How much in corporate? And all the time, believe me, for the 4 years that I was in SBI, I always gave guidance by way of directions, never by way of numbers, because I had no way of knowing the numbers. Most of the numbers that came to me, I believed, and I was right, were more intuitive than fact-based, than data-based. However, here in Salesforce, they got it down to the second decimal point, okay? So that the guidance that they were giving on the street was actually data-based. Now, how are they doing it? Basically, it is predictive AI, which we adopted in 2014. Predictive AI looked at the trends, looked at the notes that the sellers put in regarding accounts and then could predict that this particular deal will close by this time. This one, in spite of the fact that the seller is saying is looking really, really good and it is stage 7, it is not going to hit stage 8, which is when a deal closes for us. Okay? And therefore, you take it out from the estimate. So the estimates, the predictions that AI was making were really of a good quality. And then came 2022 with ChatGPT, and 2023 was our Dreamforce. Dreamforce is Salesforce's largest tech conference in the West Coast, where more than 10,000 people come in. Customers, users, people we call trailblazers, those that are believers and work on the Salesforce platform, employees, partners, the entire ecosystem converges in San Francisco to understand what Salesforce is doing and what's the way forward. And we were told this time we are going to declare Agentforce. What is Agentforce? Well, obviously, it's generative AI, but generative AI not only as a copilot, but generative AI that's not only now going to give you the help, but also be able to take action on your behalf if you allow it to do so. That was going to be declared in that particular Dreamforce. Now, as a preparation to that, I decided I needed to experience it first. It could all be in the virtual world, but how do I experience it? So what I did was I ordered an Waymo ride. And Waymos, as you know, these are driverless cars, very much like Uber. So I got into my first Waymo. And obviously, getting into my first Waymo, I was with 2 other colleagues of mine. I opened the car door and I was posing while they were snapping pictures till somebody told me that the Waymo is going to scold you right now, you better get into the car. Well, okay. As we got into the car, the Waymo asked whether we had luggage, because then it would pop up in the trunk. We said no, fine, got in, the car started, asked us what kind of music we would like. I said light country folk, and it gave me a choice of country folk, which I started listening to. And then at a particular junction, the Waymo stood behind a bus. Now we kept standing, and in about a minute, the Waymo realized something was wrong with the bus. It was not going to move. So it backed out a little, nosed itself out, and went straight ahead. Very eerie experience, because